Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you.
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem under the name ThATuMBRELLAgUY. I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me. I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me. I'm a man.
Diamonds in my grill and they can't even spark. Fleas just skimming low key from the trailer park. I'm on fleek, yeah, my vibes are spree. Dropping this verbal lobotomy. Calling out the fakes, yeah, I see that disguise. Talking big game, but it's the cheapest lies. Doing walk-bys, about to expose the weakest of the meager flows. Diamonds in my grill and they can't even spark. Fleas just skimming low key from the trailer park. I'm on fleek, yeah, my vibes are spree. Dropping this verbal lobotomy. Masked up, walk by my pen's a blade. Slicing through the noise that the schemes have made. They're paper thin, yeah, the stories don't last. I'm building my empire while they're stuck in the past. Diamonds in my grill and they can't even spark. Fleas just skimming low key from the trailer park. I'm on fleek, yeah, my vibes are spree. Dropping this verbal lobotomy.
What's up, folks? How's it going today? Welcome to weekend edition of The Fun Just Keeps on Keeping On. I swear, like Randy has been on a roll for the last couple of days too. You know, he dropped something that we didn't get to look at yesterday because we were laughing. It's stupid. He dropped another one today. Oh, guess what, too? Out of those, he actually responded to 2L. That's right. So that wonderful filing that 2L decided to put in where they're arguing against, well, things that don't exist. Yeah, we actually got a response to it. Oh my God, it's so funny. By the way, I want to show you all something, but I'm wondering, first of all, how many of you have actually seen the show Lost? Because that's important to understand in it, first of all. But I want to show you something cool. But if you've never seen the show Lost, you might not understand it. Oh, I gotta get a drink, by the way. It has been a crazy day. I took the kids. We actually went out. We did an army of stuff today. Lord, the last 2 days have been crazy. Okay, so Lost. You know Jacob, the guy who runs the island, right? Well, let me show you something. This is actually pretty freaking awesome. So, anybody who's seen this, you'll enjoy it. If you haven't, it's 2 minutes, then you will have no idea what's going on. But check this out. So it's also the guy from Supernatural. You may recognize this guy too, right here, right? So check this out. You know Cameo, right? Cameo, where if you don't know about the website, it's essentially where actors, you can get them to say hello to people, give a greeting, or whatever comes up. Well, for anniversary, I ended up getting this, and I thought this was absolutely cool. So I do want to show you this. Let me see. Let me see if I haven't tried this with closed captions on, but I do want you to hear it. Again, it has nothing to really do with the subject today, except I enjoyed it, so I want you to see this. So check it out. You'll like I said, if you know Lost, you'll get what this is, but it's directed to me. I love Cameo, by the way. I think some of the stuff there is absolutely cool. Turn on, buddy. No, it doesn't want to turn on. Well, let's see here. Let's try it anyway. Let's see.
Hello, Umbrella Guy. This is Jacob from. Well, I guess you probably saw me on the documentary Lost.
The documentary.
I know you're thinking it was a show by ABC that was written by folks, but no, there was just a camera there capturing all the insanity of that island. And you know me as the keeper of the island, basically. Well, I've retired, as you can tell, with the glasses, and I'm sitting back here now in a place called Tennessee, which I've been to multiple times since I've been off the island. It's been great, actually. I know I killed my own brother for wanting to leave the island, but I eventually left because, other people were going to take over for me. And this brings me to my sort of, anniversary gift to you, because I'm wishing you a happy anniversary. This is from Ashley, of course. My anniversary gift to you is to make you the new keeper of the island. So essentially you, Woo-hoo! Mr. Umbrella Guy, are the new Jacob. I hope you like it. I know you've seen from the show that stuff gets a little weird over there. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff for you to manage, lots of dimensions for you to cross. You got flashbacks, flash forwards, and flash sideways. You're everywhere in the dimensions of the universe. So I want you to know you're going to be busy. Ashley, it's going to take up quite a bit of time. So I'm going to have you go along with him, okay? Because I know he's been your rock for 20 years and you don't want to lose that. But we also need somebody to keep in hell. You know what I'm talking about? And it's been unmanned for a while, as you can tell from the situation out there in the world today. So we need somebody to put the lid back on the wine bottle, if you know what I'm talking about. And of course you do, because you've seen the show. So I wish you a happy anniversary. I'm touching you. You're the same. So now you are a candidate, my friend. Please put the lid back on the bottle. Thank you.
It's pretty, you have to admit that's pretty good. If you don't know about Lost, by the way, it's a lot more than I can really sit down and easily describe. But if you have seen the show, then you get all the joke in there. So I thought that was freaking awesome. Cameo, by the way, if you've never been to the site before, again, it's essentially, oh my God. Now be careful if you go over there, because you will become addicted to that place, because it will have so many star-studded shows that you've seen, and they will wish people, happy birthdays or give greetings. Some of them, oh my God, there's so many cool things. There's a couple there that I really, I really felt like, man, I should never look at this site, because there's a couple that I really would think are funny. But I ended up getting that, because of anniversaries that are coming up. But I love the show Lost. So that guy, the guy who made the Dharma Initiative videos, the scientist that's there, that guy, he does greetings over there too. If you're a fan of Lost, Breaking Bad, holy crap. Oh, you can have so much fun. Again, just be wary when you go over there. All right. Now, you all feeling the show tonight? Because I am telling you, I am really feeling this. I was having quite a bit of fun, because I got to not only watch the meltdown over the last couple of days. I mean, you talk about a glorious freaking meltdown. But on top of it, I've gotten to read, let me see, I got to read breakdowns of what happened over the last couple of days. I want to show you a breakdown before we get into the new filings. The new filings are amazing, by the way. I've enjoyed reading some Fed 2 stuff. It's finally getting going. It's finally getting, I'm going to say, entertaining, but on top of it, the meltdown that we talked about yesterday, that stuff that's been amazing too to see. So I watched So You Don't Have To, actually covered some of that meltdown, and I really think some of you folks should you should really read some of it, because it's kind of glorious. It is. I mean, everybody that saw the show the last couple of days over there in 2L land, I mean, they're mad enough that these people have been thrashing about, throwing shit fits, and it's kind of funny. It is kind of funny, but check this out. I want to read something to you here. Okay, so and then we'll look at some documents too. So you actually had 3 parts of fun from I Watch So You Don't Have To. By the way, if you've never checked them out, you don't know what I'm talking about. They do summaries of everything that happens over in 2L land and a few other places as well, Now, what's funny is the total meltdown show that happened the other day. They catch breakdowns. You can see where they're talking about stuff that happened right here. This is from Meltdown Day, but they left a little too early at first. They missed the meltdown because, of course, I mean, it happens. It's terrible sitting and watching the show. I think that any of you that do breakdowns of that show, you're amazing. I don't know how you stand it for so long, but the key in that is I watched So You Don't Have To. I only made it 20 minutes into that show, and the real sparks happened about 50 minutes in. So everybody, and I do mean everybody, was like, yo, you really need to go in and watch the rest of that episode, because it's like the only one I've ever seen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, say you missed yesterday, you had an epic meltdown in the ecosystem. And when I say an epic meltdown, I am talking about you have lips being screamed at by BBB. You have BBB flipping out on Only Me, David the Donor saying that, he's a nobody and a loser. And I mean, it's crazy stuff, By the way, this is funny too. I noticed Marla is over on the posting board saying, I've never asked David the Donor for money. Like hell you haven't. You were begging that guy to pay for a lawyer for all of this stuff, and you've been begging that dude to cover your bills. So I hate to tell you, but you did do that. So stop lying about it. These people never stop lying. They also I mean, it got bad enough that yesterday they attempted doxing. This has been talked about quite a bit. Like I said, I don't even know if the information is correct or not, but they attempted doxing. That's its own thing too. You know, when that happens to some of these folks, I don't want to hear any complaining, by the way. I don't want to hear any complaining after what I saw Lips and I saw Bruce themselves. They do. I don't want to hear any complaining ever again after what they pulled. But it is all about deflection. So let's check this out here. So here's iWatch, so you don't have to. Again, this is off Facebook. If you've never checked it out, you definitely should. Those letters, subscribe to them. So they say, oh spitballs, you know, because they're corrected. They're going back in because of the unknown episode. I thought after an early day, mailing off packages, hitting a handful of estate sales, found some treasures, but still looking for a reasonably priced vintage turntable / receiver speaker setup for my 11-year-old grandson. Going to go back Sunday to see if it's still there. It's there, since it'll be 50% off. Not that you care. Oh, look, I'm rambling. Old people ramble. Deal with it. Well, that does remind me of that other show, too. Except yours is entertaining, at least. So I arrive home, pour me a tall one of Diet Coke, pat my cat, I'm going to say, plop down to read some Facebook, and pick up a pen. And what's happening? Well, I'm amazed by comments, messages telling me what I missed. So they're telling you, oh no, people are telling them they missed something. And when I dared to see for myself, I noticed that I missed a real chit show circus. But I kept watching the stream. Blink, blink. I decided to turn on the bubbling stream to have background noise and start where I left off, enjoying our crazy friends. Blink, blink. Holy ace, mother of dogs. What did they say? What the what? Abandoning my next masterpiece, I set down my pen and began this afternoon's story. We see that the Deuce couldn't stand the back and forth, the scrolling, the wrong documents being shown. They were not even in an ADHD compliant format. ADHD compliant, that's hilarious. He began to twitch. He began to itch. He needed to get off that. He needed to get on that stream, rather, as in pronto. No more scrolling. The problem was that Fat Phalange Fleece fumbled the invite links for Deuce P Man skin. Fleece also fumbled the copy and paste technique multiple times. After all the numerous attempts, Deuce warned her that the following link better work or he's bailing. He was so mad. It's so funny. I mean, even Deuce gets annoyed when the flea fidgets foolishly. So, well, he calmed right down after receiving his working link. Deuce also knew she was an idiot, but he needed the PR legal assistant on his side. Deuce had second thoughts about Lipsy LaRue. She smelled like conspiracies and vexatious litigation, thus making him tingle in places he'd long forgotten about. Oh no, dangerous, he asks himself, perhaps, he answered. He thought of his personal yoga mama and smiled. No one can do yoga like Yoga Tama, no one. Oh no, don't talk about yoga. It might seal the wrong thing. As the Deuce arrives, the Lips gets quiet. She understands the rules. He, with the law degree, speaks first. She slowly sips into another personality and slinks off for a bit of a while. Now, Fleesa gets into her legal assistant attitude, but Deuce quickly knocks her down a few pegs and tips her off her high horse named Gabester. Winning. And she continues praising herself. She stumbles and repeatedly trips over her own legal analysis again and again. Womp, womp. Fleesa continues her attitude, but peppers a few poor me's into a mix. She tries to explain and asks why Randy never sent her anything in the mail, email, or carrier pigeon. Why? Why does he not paper me? The tears are just starting to brim over the smoke-filled eyes, Puffy. But he. Yeah, she tried to actually blame him. She tried to say, I didn't get served. By the way, that's you know that's not true. You know that's not true. But you tell the court that, right? You tell the court. Oh man, it's gonna be fun to read this reaction today. By the way, she went into the dwellers of the edge of the plastic buckets. No, don't be silly. They weren't blue buckets. I'm not a heathen, but just as she was being peacock proud about her diligence and notifying the county clerk all the time and about everything, the deuce put up his small bony hand as if Lisa could see through the screen and told her, just stop, forget about all that clerk stuff. I want you to shut the up. Not really. This is fictitious, of course. But he does. He puts the smack down for real. And you know what's funny? Again, there's two parts of this that are amazing. You actually have this in here, and then you have a wonderful breakdown. And it's funny. It's funny stuff. So you should read the other part of it. And what it's all about, again, I want to remind you, just for the second here, it's about damage control, really. Because again, what we found out the other night is that 2L is filing things. She's actually filing documentation to oh God, this makes me laugh when I say this stuff. She's filing documentation in a case where she's on the line for millions. That's right. Potentially, you could lose millions if this thing goes sideways. What is she doing? She's not keeping up with the documentation. She's not reading about the case. She's trying to, again, blame Randy for this. She's trying to say that somehow, in some way, she wasn't to blame when she makes an argument here talking about, let me throw this up here, talking about how defamation, that's a claim that, man, that's not actionable. You can't go after her for it. And guess what? It's not there. It's not in the filing at all. But hey, well, that's Randy's fault, right? It's totally Randy's fault somehow in some way that she's fighting ghosts that aren't there. I mean, again, it's pretty funny stuff. Well, this document, again, it's numbered 79, and it is an absolute trash fire. We've talked about it for the last couple of times. We've been around for it. Oh, well, it gets a response. It gets a response number 82. Now, there's actually been two documents that Randy has filed in the last couple of outings. He actually filed, let me show you both of these. Give me 1 second here. I'm blowing them up real quick. Just 1 second. So he actually has filed the last couple of documents that are on the docket. He filed 81, which was a motion for entry of default. For entry of default, you say? That sounds fascinating, doesn't it? And on top of that, he filed the next document, the document that came up today, wherein, let me see, would be document number 83. And 83, see it, number 83 there, 16 whole pages. Plaintiff's response in opposition to defendant Lee's motion to dismiss. That would be document 79. Oh man, so we have a response to 2L. Would you like to see the difference in response versus what 2L filed? Would you like to read this one over? And both of them are good, by the way. There's actually two good documents, but would you like to see this right here? Response to 2L1. Oh, goodness. All right, let's do this. I'm feeling it. By the way, folks, make sure there are there are almost 2,400. That's awesome, man. I barely had time to get in here and set up a live stream today. Like I said, I was out all day long, you know. It was a very busy day, but it was good. I got to go out. I got to spend time with the girls. I got to do important stuff, you know. I got to take the girls out for ice cream. That's always important. I took them down to the bookstore. That's right. They got to pick out books. They got to pick up a little bit of toyage. The oldest, oh man, I'll have to tell you about her NUKE pets in a few minutes too. But I got to take her out for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle kick. The little one, of course, she had to have a little bit of candyage, you know, the good stuff there. But I made it back in time that we could cover this too. So, if you would, tell people we're live. Also, if you'd like to go further than that, you could hit that like button, of course. You could hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to do a little bit more helping out the channel, you know, if you'd like to throw a little of that Starbucks coinage at it, you'd like to give a little bit of that breadstick monies, then that would be most welcome too. Thank you. So here we go. You ready for this? So, plaintiff's response in opposition to defendant Lee's motion to dismiss. Again, this is a response to document 79, like we just looked at. So plaintiff, that would be Jeremy Hales and Elephant Shoe LLC, respectfully submit this response in opposition to defendant Lisa Lee. Thereafter, they're going to call her just Lee, so you know who they're talking about. I will probably say 2L when we're saying that, or 2L1. Motion to dismiss second amended complaint. Lee's motion is predicated on mischaracterizations of the complaint and misapplications of legal standards. Contrary to Lee's assertion, the complaint does not include any counts for defamation. Right from go. Even though she told you that, well, we're here fighting the good fight against yield defamation, there's not any counts that even talk about that. Sorry about your luck, sucker. Rendering arguments related to defamation inapplicable. That's right. Lee argues that the complaint fails to state a claim for defamation among other claims. Lee asserts that the complaint lacks standing under Florida's, we're going to say, this acronym kills me here, Florida's Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. What an acronym, right? You know, usually you want it to flow. Like, explain to me how this flows somehow. You know, can anybody explain to me how this flows? FDUTPA. I'd rather see it typed out every time than spelled out like this. You know what I mean? Hey, thank you all, by the way. I see. Oh man, you all are great. I see super chats rolling in. Everybody's joking and having fun. That's the way everything should be, by the way. Everybody, we're having fun covering stupid. So thank you all. I'm glad everybody's in a good. It seems like most people are in a pretty damn good mood. Yeah. For the people like Kevin. So it fails to state a claim under the Lanham Act. Lee contends that the complaint does not sufficiently allege tortious interference with business relationship or civil conspiracy. Lee argues that the complaint contains conclusory allegations and lacks factual specificity. She claims that the plaintiff failed to comply with Florida's pre-suit notice requirements for defamation claims. So there, look, part of her argument to knock it down to is under Florida's pre-suit requirements, you have to let people, again, you have to be like, hey, I'm going to sue you unless, right? Well, about that, since there is no defamation claim, it's kind of a problem there, right? That cracked me up when I read this going through it. He's like, wait a minute. Yeah, you didn't comply with the pre-suit notice requirements for defamation because there is no defamation claim. Love it. Lee asserts that the statements attributed to her are non-actionable opinions or rhetorical hyperbole protected under the First Amendment. Now, the complaint sufficiently pleads claims under, again, the Lanham Act, tortious interference with business relationships, and civil conspiracy. Under Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 882, a complaint must contain, quote, short and plain statements of the claim showing that the pleader is entitled to relief. Now, detailed factual allegations are not required, but the rule does call for sufficient factual matters, accepted as true, to state a claim to relief that is plausible on its face. Again, they note where that comes from here. A claim has facial plausibility when the pleaded factual content allows the court to draw the reasonable inference that the defendant is liable for the misconduct alleged. Now, determining whether a complaint states a plausible claim is content specific, requiring the reviewing court to draw on its experience and common sense. Now, Lee's motion should be denied in its entirety. So let's look at this. So number one, the complaint does not include any counts of defamation. Love it. It starts with this. Lee devotes significant attention to arguing that the complaint fails to state a claim for defamation and that the plaintiff fails to comply with Florida's pre-suit notice requirements under Florida Statute 770.01. However, the complaint does not assert any claims for defamation. Therefore, garbage argument. Therefore, Lee's argument on this issue, therefore, irrelevant and should be discarded. They are irrelevant, sir. That's amazing. Again, they were so butthurt about this. You notice, by the way, they spend here's an idea. If somebody is suing you, maybe you spend more time pretending that you're not coughing phlegm into the microphone for your couple of hundred actual watchers, and the other few hundred people that watch and laugh at your show too. But instead, you pretend that you're in a court being sued for millions of dollars, because screw-ups like this, they're bad. They're bad news for you. I mean, when you're out there arguing against claims that don't exist, when you're punching at ghosts, the real claims, they'll knock you flat on your back. And what's really telling about this, and this had to happen, by the way, is the ecosystem had to be told that this was the filing. They had to communicate. There are more people than just 2L1 that read that. They did. And they thought they were so slick. Only did not read the claim. That's what the legal brain trust over there, they actually get you. That's why I keep saying, hire a real lawyer. Maybe, just maybe, that would have been the way to go. He's complaining about, by the way, it would cost me a few $1,000s. Well, about that, somebody dropped tens of thousands of dollars in your lap, right? You keep saying it's yours to do with what you want, right? I'd definitely be using it for my ass right there. I swear to God, man. These people are so dumb. So, the complaint states a claim under the FDUTPA. Under, again, all joking aside, again, when I say that, and I'm kidding around, again, it's a stupid, I hate acronyms that don't work. But remember, that's under the Florida Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. I'm sure you've heard that a billion times, by the way, But I do like, it's like, I'm not going to spell all that. So here we are. To state a claim, you must allege when a deceptive act or unfair trade practice, causation, and actual damages. A deceptive act involves representation, omission, or practice that is likely to mislead a consumer acting reasonably under the circumstances to the consumer's detriment. An unfair practice, on the other hand, is one that offends established public policy and is immoral, unethical, oppressive, unscrupulous, and substantially injurious to consumers. Lee argues that the plaintiffs lack standing under the FDUTPA because they are not aggrieved consumers. This argument misrepresents the statute. FDUTPA, the unfair, again, I'll say it every now and then, the Unfair Trade Practices Act allows claims by entities harmed by unfair and deceptive practices in trade or commerce, even if they are not direct consumers. That's interesting. Now here, again, they're quoting, quote, in construing its state's statute, Florida's district court have held that, quote, an entity does not have to be a consumer in order to have standing to bring, again, Unfair Trade Practices Act claim. Now, because the district has alleged the defendant's unfair and deceptive practices, quote, were unlikely to cause consumer harm, and the Unfair Trade Practices claim can proceed. Again, you can see where they're quoting. We have all these notations where they're saying this is where that comes from. Here's another one saying, allowing non-consumer standing because Florida state courts have ruled uniformly that non-consumers can bring Unfair Trade Practice Act actions. Moreover, when competitor businesses rather than consumers press these types of claims, quote, lost profits, lost revenue, reputational harm, and other damages commonly observed in business tort claims constitute actual damages. Now, this is like we've talked about before, this is a really interesting way to proceed. Because when you think about what's happened here, the allegation, again, I've never seen a case go at this specific approach. And again, it's kind of interesting because you have a business, and if you think about that business, you have an anti that business that is sprung up. And that anti-business, the claim says, it's caused lost profit, it's caused lost revenue, it's caused reputational harm and other damages. And it's caused damage to consumers as well. Again, it's a fascinating way to approach. Now, the other thing we've learned about this too, and I did not realize this at first, because like I said, I've never seen this approach come up. This has the ability to potentially circumvent anti-SLAPP statutes. So when they're out here pleading that it's like the Hellman's decided that he would go with an anti-SLAPP claim, which is very understandable. You would definitely, if I were approaching something, that would be the first thing that would land in my mind. Well, the argument that came back is actually that doesn't even matter under this. This is something different totally. So it's an interesting approach. Now, between the more relaxed pleading standards for this case, combined with over 150 paragraphs of factual allegations in this complaint, including without limitation, paragraphs 1 through 6, paragraphs 18 through 54, paragraphs 165 through 172, which address Lee's specific acts, plaintiff's complaint alleges that Lee, as plaintiff's competitor, engaged in deceptive practices, including Look at this. Soliciting donations under false pretense from consumers, which caused harm to consumers. They're saying she's a scammer. Huh. Now that's interesting, is it not? I mean, when you look at it, again, soliciting money for reasons other than, and again, her own statements. When you go in and you quote her, there's been some pretty damning statements made by her about money's to do with as I please. Well, that's not what was noted. And again, there are transcripts of their own videos that state that. No wonder these days that you notice again in the ecosystem, they do everything except talk about the fucking cases they're involved in. You know, it's always about attacking someone else. It's never about, first of all, it's never anymore about LP or JC. Those fuckers have been sidelined. You know, every now and then they'll throw them a bone, but more often than not, it's about poor me. You know, you have 2L1 and Lip sitting around. I mean, misconstruing all kinds of bullshit, making up false timelines and shit, but so they can be victims. It's their own new grift. But they don't talk about the actual factual items that are in cases. It's crazy to see. And I'm sure that'll continue. Again, you know, look at the way that they tried to deflect against the stream they brought up. Again, they tried to go with doxing. You had Lips do it under, and again, I don't know if anything's real or not under that, but Lips and BBB, both of them, under their own names, participated in that shit. It was like, are you kidding me? Could you imagine, first of all, suing somebody, saying they were supposedly threatening you and more, and then going online and dumping their information out there, what you think is them, and then saying somehow in some way, they've been threatening me? Oh my God, man. I'm telling you. These people are, they will do anything except talk about the federal cases they're involved in, except talk about the absolute garbage thumbnail litigation and where that thing stands now, to talk about the trespass fine, to talk about vexatious litigation and what exactly that means, any of this stuff. They'll do anything except talk about that. It's more defaming and bullshit, right? It's amazing. But number 2 here as well, making false statements about plaintiff's business, which caused harm to plaintiff's reputation and business relationships. Now, these allegations are sufficient to state a claim under, again, FDUTPA. Here's 3. The complaint states a claim under the Lanham Act. Now, to state a claim for false advertising under the Federal Lanham Act, the party must allege 1, the advertisements, rather. I said advertisings, but advertisements of the opposing party are false or misleading as to the party's own product of another's. And 2, the advertisements actually deceived customers or had the tendency to deceive a substantial portion of its targeted audience. 3, the deception is material, meaning it is likely to influence purchasing decisions. And 4, the defendant advertised product traveled in interstate commerce. And 5, the plaintiff has been or is likely to be injured as a result of the false or misleading advertisements by casually related declining sales or loss of goodwill. That's, like I said, that is a novel approach. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. And that's one of the reasons I like keeping up with things like this. It's amazing, you know? It is. Oh, by the way, happy anniversary for this too. Consider getting Miss Tongue, the non-alcoholic version of peach-flavored baby liquor as a gift tonight. Indeed. Actually, I ended up getting a necklace, which was a compass, because I thought it would be, it's like a compass design on it, you know, because you find a way back to yourself and back to the things that, you know, you care about. I thought, I don't, I don't think you give people meaningless things, you know. It doesn't matter like what something is or what it costs. There should always be good meaning in it. Like the lost thing, you know, when it was pulled up, I thought that was good. That's personal for me, you know. I love lost, so that makes an impact for me, and vice versa. But that's really funny. I appreciate it there. So, third-party verification, Inc. versus Signature Link, Inc. I've been looking through cases like these just so I can understand what exactly some of this, what it means. Again, because the Lanham Act, I'm sure how many of you really know anything about the Lanham Act? How many of the, there's probably some of you out there for sure, but how many of you have seen cases roll through with this approach? Because I'm curious about how this goes. It's interesting, and it looks like it could very well, it can have merit under that. So Lee contends that the complaint fails to allege false advertising under the Lanham Act because the statements attributed to Lee do not constitute commercial advertising or promotion. This argument is unavailing. Excuse me, I gotta get a drink first real quick. My mouth dried out. It was wait, that word won't come out. Availing. Give me a minute. It's bad when you get past through half of the word. You're like, oh my God. Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah, I've heard it come up with some business related items. I have never really seen it just pop in to litigation like this. So it was kind of, like I said, it's interesting to see there. Not familiar, not from the U.S. either. That's true too. You know, a lot of the cases that you see come up, that's another thing. You know, depending on where you are, like watching certain cases, I learned a lot about UK law. You know, and that can be a crash course. And what you think you understand under one country's definition of, say a defamation claim, how that's worded out, or an abuse claim, it changes heavily from country to country too. So under U.S. federal law, the Lanham Act defines, quote, commercial advertising or promotion as representations made in connection with goods or services that misrepresent the nature, characteristics, qualities, geographic origin. Now, while the act itself does not define advertising or promotion, the 11th Circuit, requires that the representation must meet the criteria of being commercial speech made by a competitor intended to influence consumers and sufficiently disseminated to the relevant purchasing public. Okay. Number 2, emphasize that the representations need not be part of a traditional advertising campaign, but may include informal types of promotion, provided they're sufficiently disseminated. Man, that's interesting, like I said, if it does end up qualifying, because again, that approach could be, that could be something for some of these folks out there. I mean, again, they built an anti-Jeremy Hale's business. That has been their business model. Their business model isn't we cover cases. They've tried to shift that and make it look like at the beginning, you know, they've been adding bumpers and more, but they weren't doing that at first. They had no background in covering other cases. They've tried to shoehorn that in there, but they didn't talk about cases. They talked about Jeremy has his business. They talked about, again, they went as far as to canvass where this business operates. They went in to hire a quote-unquote expert. That, again, interestingly, when you read through the handwriting expert that they brought in, they tried to go with signs. Well, these signs actually somehow in some way, Hale's, he's responsible. It's like, wait, what? What? You mean the guy that wasn't even around? Then you found out about, again, the guy's background and stuff. You think about that as a business. If a business goes out and says that somebody does X, Y, and Z, and they try to torpedo them into the ground, that can be a problem. So, like I said, we'll see if it holds, if it actually works out. But now, again, here we have example. It says, quote, to be actionable under the Lanham Act, speech at issue must be commercial in nature. Also, another case here, commercial speech encompasses not merely direct invitations to trade, but also communications designed to advance business interests. Now, in order for representations to construe commercial advertising or promotions under Section 43A1B, they must be 1, commercial speech, 2, by a defendant who is in commercial competition with plaintiff. They are indeed in commercial competition. They built the anti-what-the-hales media ecosystem. I would say that is direct competition. When they're part of that. That's something else, isn't it? For the purposes of influencing customers to buy defendants' goods or services. While the representations need not be made in a classical advertising campaign, but consist instead of more informal types of promotion, the representations must be disseminated sufficiently to relevant purchasing public and constitute advertising or promotion within that industry. Now, also here, notes the court set forth a 2-part test for determining whether a plaintiff can sue under the Lanham Act, the quote-unquote zone of interest test and the proximate cause requirement. So let's see what those are. The zone of interest test. To come within the zone of interest in a suit of false advertising under 1125A, a plaintiff must allege an injury to a commercial interest in reputation or sale. Okay. An approximate cause requirement for that is statutory standing, quote, generally bar suits from alleging harm that is too remote from the defendant's unlawful conduct. Now, to satisfy this, a plaintiff suing under 1125A ordinarily must show economic or reputational injury flowing directly from the deception wrought by defendant's advertising. And that occurs when deception of consumers causes them to withhold trade from the plaintiff. Now, at the pleading stage, general factual allegations of injury resulting from the defendant's conduct must suffice. For on a motion to dismiss, the court presumes that general allegations embrace those specific facts that are necessary to support the claim. This means that when applying the principles combined with over 150 paragraphs of factual allegations in a complaint, including without limitations, paragraph 1 through 6, 18 through 54, and 165, 172, address the specific acts. Plaintiff's complaint states prima facie claim for false advertising under the Lanham Act. That's quite a bit, by the way, over 150 paragraphs of factual allegations. And there's a lot of allegations there. It alleges that Lee is an interstate commercial competitor who made false and misleading statements about plaintiff's business in a commercial context, including on social media platforms where Lee solicits donations and promotes her own business sales. That is true, by the way. She does indeed promote her own sales through that. So that is, you look at merchandising. That is 100% true. So these, how many peen rocks have you seen them try to sell? You know, Jeremy's the devil. Buy my peen rocks. Oh my God. Give me a second. I get cough. Buy my peen rocks. It's so bad. Oh Lord. So the complaint here, number 4. The complaint states a claim for tortious interference with business relationship. So Lee argues that the complaint fails to identify specific business relationships or allege intentional interference. Now in Reed and Associates 2018, the court held that the complaint need not, quote, identify specific contracts with which the defendants allegedly interfered to state a plausible tortious interference claim. Now, contrary to Lee's assertions, there is no requirement at the pleading stage for a complaint to identify the specific contracts and specific timeshare owners at issue. Now, again, you have a C, where it notes agreeing that while claimant, quote, will ultimately have to prove interference with specifically named entities at the pleading stage, their allegations concerning interference with ultimately identifiable customers are sufficient, and collecting cases to similar effect. There's another quote, again, where plaintiffs have adequately alleged facts that plausibly give rise to the existence of an enforceable agreement. That is all that's required. So again, you understand the idea here. They don't have to, at this stage, get in to the nitty gritty, as it were. They just have to be able to give enough sufficient proof where you can say, yeah, okay. Now, Florida law requires only that an identifiable contractual relationship be alleged. Now, the complaint does that and demonstrates that Lee's argument ignores the detailed allegations in the complaint, which identify the plaintiff's business relationship with customers, vendors, and platforms such as YouTube and Whatnot Inc. Between the more relaxed pleading standards for this case, combined with over 150 paragraphs, factual allegations in the complaint, again, noting all of those paragraphs that we've noted before, again, 1 through 6, 18 through 54, and 165 through 172, specifically about Lee. Plaintiff's complaint further alleges that Lee intentionally interfered with these relationships by making false statements and engaging in a coordinated campaign to harm plaintiff's business. These allegations are sufficient to state a claim of tortious interference. Now, tortious interference claims, I will note, they are difficult to go forward with. They are. They are some of the most difficult to go forward, but this is actually well argued. It is. It's very well argued, and we've seen some of this stuff go forward. If there's, I'm going to say it this way, if there's any way to move forward, I'm to the point where I'm thinking that the ecosystem, they're pretty damn good at causing things to go forward. Things that I'm like, well, will this move forward or not? Well, they're damn good at going out and doing more and more damage to themselves. It's wild to see. It is. It is wild. There have been, I didn't think, for example, in Fed 1, I had serious doubts about Fed 1. Because again, the approach that they were taking is a difficult one. Not because Jeremy Hales has not been damaged. That's you lay that aside for a second, okay? What you have to do is convince a court to go forward where you can present evidence on that. Like, that's difficult. That is much more difficult than people realize. The whole idea of you getting to face accusers in court and all this other madness. Yeah, good luck with that, because it's not that easy. But the ecosystem seems very good at demolishing anything that would work for them. Now, 2L1, I'm sure. In fact, this was crazy. So, like I said, I finally have watched one of their shows. You know, when everything melted down. I've finally done that one time because it was like, holy shit. In that show, what I found out there was that 2L1 was given, 3 different people were giving advice to go in 3 different directions. There is no uniform direction for someone to go. And while they all want to put on a brave face and pretend that they know what the fuck is going on, really, again, I believe their platforms have been built off defaming individuals, not going in and talking about cases, not actually covering anything. It's been about allegations without any substantiation. We've seen that repeatedly. Again, everything from embezzlement to orphan dogs to on and on and on. They make these statements and they just double and triple down. And then when they're told, well, you can defend yourself with, it's not X, Y, or Z. It's no, take X. No, wait, do Y. No, Y is stupid. You need to go with my way. No, Z. You know, you imagine that. Again, you have somebody that has bitten off way more than they can chew here. They have no idea what the fuck they're doing. And it shows. It shows. They're hoping, again, that somebody with a lot of money will step in and help them, even though they've spit in their face over and over again. They hope that they'll come in and bail them out. Yeah. I mean, months of it. Like I said, they've done everything they can on that side. I believe they know that deep down, they know that they're in trouble. In fact, not so deep down, they know that they're in trouble. But they've also talked themselves into a hole because remember, they're mistaken for lawyers all the time. You know, it's like, wait a minute. You are not. You are not a lawyer. You moron. You are not. And the people around you, again, I would look at their standings. I would look at some of the things they've been involved in, and maybe I wouldn't take their advice either. I would make sure to get my own counsel. I'd probably detach from these mothers. You know why? You know, ultimately, here's the best piece of advice I could give to a 2L or any of these other people. These folks, when you look at paint chips or a BBB or a lips, whose interest are they acting in? Are they acting in your interest? No, they're acting in their best interest. I mean, ultimately, when the proverbial chips are down, not the paint chips, but the other types of chips, when they're down, and you're talking about all this mess, do you think that they would be acting in your best interest? Or do you think they would flush you in a cocaine heartbeat to make sure that their own best interests are protected? And I think you know the answer to that. I think you know these folks, they will not stand with you at the end of it. So when you think that they're operating in your best interest, yeah, why don't you look at where Fed 1 is right now? Why don't you look at the trash fire that this garbage that Lips has brought forward? Look at it. Look at what she's doing now. Again, under her own name, she attempted doxing someone. She has threatened someone she was going to take this approach. She has gone out and told people multiple times, roast me, and included some of the response from like DJ Radis as quote unquote evidence. A lot about timeline. I mean, more. I could just keep going on, but the whole idea now, and let's not forget, the whole thing about quote unquote retiring. Let's not forget the other guy over there and the fact that they spent quite a bit of time in jail because of their actions. So yeah, maybe they won't act in your best interest. And I don't believe you'd act in their best interest either. But any of these people, I mean, there's a few of them. There's a couple of them I think that are just absolute morons, and they have walked deer in headlights into something that may well destroy them. I'm not saying that they haven't been absolute pieces of garbage in that, but some of these conspirators, they have listened to bad advice that has been given out, and people have been, told to stay in line. Well, you've seen things fall apart. Again, you saw Fed 1 fall apart. So let's continue. The complaint states a claim for civil conspiracy. So the elements for civil conspiracy require 1, an agreement between 2 or more parties. 2, to do unlawful acts or to do a lawful act by unlawful means. 3, the performance of an overt act in pursuit of conspiracy. And 4, damage to plaintiff because of conspiratorial acts. Now, it is not required that each co-conspirator commit an act to further the conspiracy. Rather, it is sufficient that each conspirator knows about the scheme and aids in some way. Now, as plaintiff's underlying cause of action does not allege fraud, there is no heightened pleading standard, and the general plausibility standards of Rule 8A FRCP control the quote-unquote agreement element of the conspiracy claim. Now, moreover, for FRCP 9B, a defendant's knowledge can be alleged generally, even if the cause of action involves fraud. Finally, on a motion to dismiss, a court takes the factual allegations and the claim is true, even if they are subject to dispute, and construes them in the light most favorable to the plaintiff. Now, consistent with these rules and principles, the complaint sufficiently alleges damages in specified amount, or specific, I said specified, specific amounts under each account. God, here, I'm going to rewind. It's the worst terror. It's the most terrible sound effect I've ever done. The complaint sufficiently alleges damages in specific amounts under each count, including lost profits, treble damages, and actual damages under the FDUTPA. Lee's argument as to the damages pled or misplaced, as they appear to confuse pleading with proof, and as such are premature. Look at this. Her arguments about damages. They confuse pleading with proof. When you make an argument, perhaps make sure that you are making the right argument. I mean, again, oh Lord. It's like I was saying before. If you look at this case and you say, this is a difficult way to go forward, well, remember, these folks, they're doing their best to help it. Oh my God, man. I'd say fire your lawyer, but well, about that. They've all decided they're going to go these cheap ways, where again, they're relying on folks. They talk a big fucking game, but some of this stuff that some of these lawyers have been saying, they are just ridiculous when you listen to it. I think, what now? you said what? And again, if you really want to know about folks, look at what the people they represented actually have to say. I think that's the best way forward. When you look at let's ignore their standing right now. Look back and see what the people they represented before said standing. See what those folks say. Because some of them has some really interesting stuff. And remember, there's one lawyer that we never hear from, but he also, in my opinion, he counts in this too, and that would be Stark. You remember the kind of people that they pulled into this mess. And then you think, man, would you put your financial futures in the hands of any of those people? Do you feel confident enough, based on everything you've seen in court standings and more? Would you feel like that? See, when I picked up a lawyer, like when I've needed one in the past, right? I picked up my lawyer based on a few things. One of the things that I really liked that was said about a lawyer that I picked up was I read a review, again, I'm paraphrasing, but it said, they're a monster. They didn't care about the damage they did when winning. They only cared about winning. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's my lawyer right there. Win. You know, win. You know, they have a good reputation with courts. You can always check that out. You can look at whether or not they've ever been in trouble. But ultimately, look at what the people they represent have to say. Because I'm going to tell you, when we look through some of the reviews for some of these folks, whew, yeah. So, between the more relaxed pleading standards for this case, combined with, again, the 150 paragraphs we've heard about, we've heard about what they are exactly, addressing these specific acts. And I'm glad, this is something else you would want to hammer. You do indeed want to remind the court over and over again, hey, there's not just a couple of allegations here. There are quite a few allegations that are addressed in this, but plaintiff's complaint easily permits the inference that Lee and other co-defendants agreed to commit acts, including engaging in impermissible commercial speech intended to harm plaintiff's business and reputation in the business community, as well as deceive consumers. Now, Florida courts have consistently held that a conspirator need not take part in the planning, inception, or successful conclusion of conspiracy. The conspirator need only know of the scheme and assist in it in some way to be held responsible for all the acts of co-conspirators. Although threadbare, Missouri allegations will nonetheless not survive dismissal. The existence of a conspiracy and individual participation in it may be inferred from circumstantial evidence. So again, you have all your cases written out. You know, it's amazing too. If you look, like something that I thought was really telling about the 2L filing as well. Check this out. You'll notice that, again, with Randy quoting cases, you'll see how it breaks down what a case is saying and it gives quotes here. Have you looked at 2L's filing and saw the difference in the way that it actually quoted cases and more? I mean, you talk about terrible. Again, this is the kind of stuff you don't want to do in a case, just to say. This is why you go out and you get somebody that's detached from all the stupid, and you definitely aren't going to rely on yourself either. Again, if you look at the 2L, we'll come back to that thing in just a second, but just to remind you here that their entire argument was they did an introduction, 3 pages of soapbox. This is grandstanding. You don't grandstand with judges. This judge has made it clear. He is not going to operate as the finder of fact. You need to lay this shit out, and you need to lay it out well. 3 pages of you saying something that is based on nothing. It is based on absolutely nothing. There is not a case being quoted. There is nothing in that for 3 pages. That's a terrible approach. Then, when you look, these... I mean, how often do you see anything that's quoting something relevant? The way that they set this up. First of all, I can smell somebody's hand on the steering wheel, as it were. And when you look at it, the way that this is laid out is so bad. It makes the judge the finder of fact. And he is, again, if you read the cases that have been covered so far, if you actually read the filings in Fed 1, you would understand that this judge has made it clear he is not going to operate as a finder of fact. He is, and that's understandable. Essentially, what that means is this: when I lay something out, when I lay out an argument, I need to provide proof that that argument is sound. I don't need to, again, lay out 3 pages of nonsense to begin something and say nothing whatsoever, because that's just meaningless air. Then I lay out quote unquote examples. Some of the examples are wrong, by the way. I read through a few of the case cited examples. It's like these don't have anything to do with what you're talking about. These are terrible. Like a few of those were terribly done. But they leave the court as again, the person who needs to go in and read about what these cases actually state. They may quote something from it, but when they quote something, it's like I don't know if you've ever seen somebody that they take the most bare bones statement out of something. Like they take a statement out of the middle of a sentence and they pretend that somehow, like if I were saying, in order for a defamation claim to go forward, if they were to just take that part and not note anything afterward, they were to add their elements to the back end of that, be like, that's kind of deceptive. There are a few examples that feel like that. And there's many others that don't even provide. They don't provide anything. And if you take, again, I would encourage you to read these things on your own. That ultimately is where you should be making any type of decision on who's doing well at this. Like if you're watching this from the sideline, don't take my word on it. Definitely don't take morons' words on it, because they don't even read you the documentation that's coming up. They don't read you the replies that are coming up. Do it on your own. Read everything though. Make sure you understand it. And if you don't understand something, there are lawyers all over the freaking internet if you need something defined for you. But anyway, let's continue. So now with auto candies. Now in auto, oh no, not candies. Oh Lord. In auto candies, the complaint alleges inter alia a conspiracy by defendants to violate RICO, noting that a bare assertion of conspiracy will not suffice to prove RICO conspiracy. The court stated that plaintiffs, quote, need not offer direct evidence of a RICO agreement, and the existence of conspiracy may be inferred from the conduct of the plaintiffs. So the plaintiffs in auto candies pleaded 6 factors to allege that Citigroup agreed to conspire with OSA to engage in a pattern of racketeering activities. 1, Citigroup and OSA's business relationship. 2, their mutual financial gain from racketeering activity. 3, their joint fraudulent misrepresentations and omissions. 4, their dependency on each other's fraudulent conduct to prolong their scheme. And 5, Citigroup's then CEO admission that certain employees were, quote unquote, criminally involved in the scheme. And 6, Mexican regulators' conclusion that Citigroup employees or agents, quote, knowingly engaged in a fraudulent scheme with OSA. Now, reversing the district court's order of dismissal, this court stated that plaintiffs pleaded ample circumstantial evidence to support their allegations that Citigroup plausibly agreed to a conspiracy. Now, although ample circumstantial evidence is not required here, plaintiffs have alleged sufficient facts to demonstrate that Lee and other defendants knew of a scheme to destroy or take down plaintiff's business. Where have you heard about this? Taking down or destroying plaintiff. I seem to have remembered somebody discussing taking down or destroying plaintiff's business and ability to earn income on YouTube while they deceive customers into, quote unquote, donating money in order to assist Preston, but the money instead being pocketed by Lee in this case does not reach Preston. That's fascinating. And you know what's really, really, really fascinating about that? Their own conduct. That makes this make sense, because when you think about it, there were tens of thousands of dollars that were donated to Preston. Where's the money at? Why doesn't Preston have it? Why isn't Preston claiming any of that on tax returns? I mean, again, it is well beyond the threshold for quote unquote gifts that are non-reportable. So why is none of this coming forward? Why isn't any of it being discussed? Well, maybe it's because Preston doesn't have it. I mean, that's what it looks like, right? So that's where it gets real interesting too. And if this goes forward, another thing that they should worry about is the fact that if that money isn't there, holy shit, that would be a very, very bad thing. Because again, I've seen the arguments that have been made. At one time, it was, we took donations. Then it was like, we actually didn't take donations for specific things. We only took them for, need based, and I provided these needs. It's like, what? Wait a minute. You can't keep moving the goalpost and pretending that the money again goes towards specific people, and it doesn't. Well, that's a problem. But sooner or later, I have this feeling, again, like with Preston lost her shit for a minute and then reeled back in. Preston's going to have, this is the problem of not building your own thing too. When they built this thing up, they built it on whose platform exactly? It wasn't Preston's. With someone else's. They've all kind of looped together, and you can tell sometimes some of these people cannot stand each other. I wonder, in fact, as the court cases move forward, and you see the shifting dynamics, like BBB used to be the gatekeeper for communication between Preston and Cook. He essentially, as their lawyer, had so much say in all of their actions that I would have said he was the most important person in that. Now, when you see people's diminishing roles, in this, and their diminishing influence, when you see other people moving up, like say Lips, for example, what does that do to the way that they're involved? What does that do as far as the anger and everything that comes up? What it does is it sets them to trying to ruin and destroy each other. And we see it leak out. I mean, again, you can see these other approaches too. I think 2L knows they're in trouble. I think that they hope, again, that the super donor there will back them. And you saw Bruce just straight up talk shit about that guy on the platform. And you had Marla and others echoing that. Well, what that says to me is, again, we know these people have backroom discussions and everything else. I hope when they're all echoing some similar thing, and maybe that points out something. And they all said it for a little while. But now with the threads coming unravel, like how far do they allow things to unravel before, again, they hurt their interest? Like if you're hurting the interest of the person trying to court that, or like with Bruce, like if Bruce is like, screw that guy right there, how long before you have some fray or fracture that really causes problems? Again, the way that they tried to hide all of this was they tried to do another gotcha to somebody that's covering the case. They tried to aim something nasty towards someone in the form of doxing. Like I said, I don't know if information is correct or not, but the attempt at it was very clear. Now, the timing of it also made it very clear. It was meant to stop people from talking about what was going on specifically right then. It didn't just happen out of the blue. They wanted something that would reset that proverbial clock, as it were. They wanted people to stop talking about their meltdowns. And that's why you don't. So let's continue, though. Now, Lee asserts, wait, Preston's money. Actually, the complaint also alleges sufficient facts demonstrating that Lee assisted in the scheme in some way. Specifically, the allegations regarding Lee, along with the necessary context, are summarized and cited in paragraphs 1 through 6. You know all the paragraphs. You've seen those. So Lee asserts that the civil conspiracy claim fails because it is not based on actual underlying tort. This argument is incorrect. As shown, the complaint alleges underlying torts, including violations of the FDUTPA, false advertising under Lanham, tortious interference, and these claims are adequately pled. And the conspiracy claim, civil conspiracy, I said just conspiracy, but civil conspiracy rather, are therefore viable. Number 6, Lee's arguments regarding protected speech are misplaced. Now, Lee argues that the statements attributed to her are non-actionable opinions or rhetorical hyperbole protected under the First Amendment. However, the complainant alleges that Lee made false statements of fact about plaintiff's business practices and reputation. These statements are not protected speech because they are actionable, as shown under the Unfair Trade Practices and Lanham Act and tortious interference law. So they're saying again, they're not protected speech because of. Now, again, this is an interesting approach to things. You were speaking as a business entity. You were not speaking as an individual. You aimed at a business, at destroying them. And like I said, when we did this stuff too, you look at how far outside of the threshold of a case that they went. How many things have they done that have just been about, let's take a wrecking ball to this person, not X, Y, or Z is happening. One second, I got cough again. Man, the weather's changing here. It is miserably hot. So if I've got a cough for a minute, that's me. It's just the weather, It's the weather. It is so miserable outside. I don't know if you've never been to the U.S. South, by the way, some of the areas out here, the humidity. Like when you look at heat, I'll have people tell me, man, Arizona's hot. I've been to Arizona. It's hot, but the humidity is not that. Like here, it is just oppressive. It's like there's this hot, heavy moisture in the air, and it feels hot in your lungs. It feels like it's heavy on your body. It's like, oh my God, this is miserable. So anyway, number 7, the complaint contains sufficient factual specificity. Lee contends that the complaint contains conclusory allegations and lacks factual specificity. This argument is without merit. As discussed, the complaint provides detailed allegations, including specific statements made by Lee, the context in which they were made, and the harm to plaintiffs. Now, again, you saw 150 paragraphs factual, and what paragraphs they are specific to Lee. So, for the foregoing reasons, plaintiff respectfully requests that the court deny motion to dismiss in its entirety. Should the court grant this, you always put this into, should that happen, it should be done without prejudice to afford plaintiffs an opportunity to amend to address any perceived defect. I saw, this was funny too. So I saw one of these idiots trying to bring up the fact that this is stated. And they're like, oh, this is some kind of statement wherein this is something you just do. You expect. If you do happen to knock this down, though, do it without prejudice and allow us the opportunity to amend our complaint so we can go forward. That is not you doubting whether that has teeth. That you're stating something that everyone should state, you know, a judge if then. So you can see again, let me make sure there's nothing else on that. You have the, you have a lot of different places that are listed, you know, the lawyers, how they're actually, how they're represented. You know, what's really telling too. You know, it's one thing that's really, really telling in this whole thing. And I thought, guess who has a lawyer? Like out of this, who's represented and who's not? I guess is the best way to address this, because the other people that are being told that they don't really need lawyers. Well, who has a lawyer? You know who has lawyers? The lawyers. Give me 1 second. I want to redact something. I want to show you the most telling part of this. And it tells you that, like 2L, for example, you have to be an absolute moron to go forward with this. You know why? Well, because, well, let me show you this. So, 1 second. I'm redacting something. Because I think the most telling part of this entire filing, it's not really just that portion. There's another portion, like I said. It's at the bottom, past the certificates. So check this out. This should tell you more than you need to know. So here you see the certificate of compliance, right? And afterwards you have your service list. Yeah. Now you notice who isn't represented by a lawyer. LMNOP, pro se so far. John Cook, pro se so far. Marla, pro se so far. And 2L1, pro se so far. Now, who isn't going that route? Bruce isn't going that route. Huh. Now, why would that be? You know? Well, because people shouldn't represent just themselves. The best way that you go forward is to do it under... you should do it under someone else's license, not your lack of one. You know, these people, again, you know, look, I was thinking about how I wanted to say that. These folks, they don't have law licenses. These folks do. When they go forward, you notice Hale, no matter what you think about claims or anything, I think his lawyer has been, at least he's gone forward and tried to address claims and do it. I mean, he's done it in a very factual way, a very boring way, which is good. He's arguing. He's doing it again. He's laid down some halfway decent arguments, some cogent ones. We'll see if they work. I'm not sure yet, but they're much better than what I see coming out of 2L. Or what I see coming out of, again, these other idiots that they have nothing on the line. The people that have something on the line, they have a lawyer. So that should be telling right off the bat. I mean, if you're taking the legal advice of somebody that themselves has a lawyer in front of them, maybe that should tell you something to you. You should be like, maybe I should be represented. And if you're like, hey, Tom, maybe you shouldn't say it. No, I believe people should get lawyers. You know, you don't go in and play this game. And you don't, again, we've already seen these idiots make a fucking mess of other cases. We've seen, what do you need to see? I mean, again, if you think these people are helping you behind the scenes, what do you need to see? How many cases have to go belly up before you think, man, I need to do for me? Because you had thumbnail case. Thumbnail case hit Stark and Bruce behind the scenes for sure. Same thing with Trespass 5. Both of those went belly up. On top of that, you have Fed 1. How many of these idiots out there have tried to argue that something in Fed 1 would not do this, that, or the other? They were so assured in it. Or they were, again, like BBB directly attached to it. Why the fuck would you still have them helping you argue your case? I would detach from these idiots. I would detach from every fucking one of them, and I would have my own lawyer. You know why they don't want you to do that, though? It's just like every movie that you've ever seen. You know why? Because when you start going in and you start operating with your own lawyer, you might actually be told some good advice. Like, hey, maybe you need to cover your own backside. Maybe if it comes to it, maybe feeding these people to this and talking about what goes on, maybe that might actually be something that you should consider. You know, of course, like I said, if I were sitting here, if we were all, I mean, you just think about this. If we were all in conspiracy together, right? And I had a lot to lose, and you have a lot to lose. Other people have, you know, all these people have a lot to lose there. And you listen to the advice of whomever out of this group over and over again. When you listen to it, if everybody has something to lose there, are they operating, again, I want to say this again, are they operating on your behalf, in your best interest? Or are they operating on theirs? Because I would be willing to bet that they are probably operating with their own self-interest, their own best interest. That's one of the things that came up, in fact, in Fed 1. If you listen to the way that that the lawyer wouldn't allow, or rather the judge wouldn't allow Bruce to be added into that, it wasn't just because he was a lawyer. It was because he was representing LMNOP and JC. And as part of that, yeah, whose interest would he be working in? Would he be working in their interest or his interest? It would be confusing. But also, again, so why would you be taking advice from somebody that may hamstring you and feed you to the plaintiff in order to save their own ass? Because ultimately, I mean, that can happen. That can happen easily. I think LMNOP is really screwed in that too. Like, if you think about not just this, but Ohio, for example, where we've talked about third-party violations, right? We've talked about all the damage that has been done by many of these idiots in the name of they've joined up with LMNOP. Who pays for that? Do you think that the co-conspirators, the folks, the third-party violators, do you think they're going to be the ones that potentially not only get violations, but potentially could go to jail? No. It's going to be the people with protective order. First and foremost, they're the ones that are on the line. So, and they've been telling things like, again, third-party violations, it takes direct contact. I saw more than one of these idiots telling LMNOP and the world that third-party violations of a protective order, they only come about when there is direct contact. That is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. You know, it's indirect contact too. It's there, but what do I know? All right, so there's another filing as well. Let me see what time. How long have we been doing this? Let me look at how long this filing is. I'm trying to decide if I want to cover everything in it. It's not very long. I think it's actually an easy filing. It's only really 3 pages. So let's look at this one other filing, okay? There's a filing that came up. It's Doc 81. Now, this was a response by Randy as well. He's, here, let me just pull it up for you. Okay. So here it's Randy asking for entry of default. Now, some of the stuff that's been happening with LMNOP, it's kind of confusing to me. I don't understand. Well, they just raised $6,000 for a lawyer, right? Now, what I don't understand is why deadlines keep passing. Why there are certain, the judge has been like, hey, you know, you need to argue this by this deadline, or you need to do this by that deadline. And there's nothing going on. There's no filings. There's no lawyer. What's going on with that? Like, you would think we would have seen a lawyer become engaged in this. I thought time was of the essence. You know, we've already seen the discovery reply deadline come and go. You know, it was an argument again. In Fed 1, you had them not turning over anything. That was the argument. And they were allowed to reply to that. They were allowed to essentially say, hey, judge, you know, this argument's, you know, it's garbage because of X, Y, or Z. But you know what? They did nothing. There was no reply whatsoever. So if there's no reply whatsoever to it, how do you think that's going to be decided? How do you think that's going to happen? So anyway, let's look at this. Plaintiff's motion for entry of default. So plaintiff, LVHU LLC, Ohio Limited Liability Company, DBA What the Hales, Jeremy Hales, collectively, that's the plaintiffs, by and through undersigned counsel, pursuant to Rule 55 of Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, hereby respectfully move this court to enter default against LMNOP for failure to comply with this court's order to respond to plaintiff's second amended complaint. What happened again? There's the question. Like I said, I keep wondering about. They raised money to bring in a lawyer. Why is there nothing being stated on record? Why is nothing happening on that? If you tell me that you need $6,000 for a lawyer, I'm going to assume that all of the bugs, all the kinks in that, they're worked out, you know? If you tell me a specific price for something, I think everything has been decided there, right? But apparently not. But in support of this motion, plaintiff states, on June 17th, 2025, this court issued an order which states the defendant Preston must respond to plaintiff's second amended complaint within 7 days of it being refiled by plaintiffs. Emphasis supplied by the court. So, within 7 days. Let's look at the footnote here, by the way. The court noted in the order that, quote, defendant Preston's response to the amended complaint, that would be Doc 35, was previously due on June 18th, 2025. Defendant Lee's response to the amended complaint was previously due on June 24th, 2025. And yet we keep moving on. Oh my goodness. Now on June 18th, plaintiffs refiled their second amended complaint against defendant Preston. That would be Doc 76. Now, pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 15A3, Preston was required to respond to the second amended complaint within the time specified by the court's order. The deadline for Preston to respond to the second amended complaint has passed. Now, to date, Preston has failed to file an answer or otherwise respond to plaintiff's second amended complaint, despite this court's explicit order requiring such response. How many times, by the way, does the court say, that's no biggie. I know that you shirked our order. I know that you basically gave us the middle finger, but it's amazing, isn't it? It's so amazing. So Preston's failure to plead or otherwise defend against the second amended complaint as ordered by this court warrants the entry of default pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 55A2. Additionally, the court has the authority to impose sanctions for failure to comply with court orders pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 37. Now, the court said, now this is something that I'm curious about, because let me just say it this way, I suppose. If a person sticks their finger up, they stick a certain finger up to a judge over and over and over again, how long do they take it? How long will they take it? Now, so far, it's been more. They will take it more, and they will take it more, and they will take it more. But at what point are they like, well, no, I'm done with that? You have to wonder. Because after a while, you would think a judge would get tired of that. I mean, again, shirking their orders. Oh, man, what happened here? Did Paint Chip's channel get taken down? Somebody wrote me about that. Did that happen today? I'm just trying to check this out. Huh. Looks like maybe that did happen. It's kind of weird. So, the court also has inherent authority to enforce compliance with its orders through Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 16F, which authorizes sanctions when a party fails to obey a pretrial order. Now, the plaintiffs have been prejudiced by Preston's failure. 1 second. Yeah, sure. Hey, give me 1 second. I got clear my throat. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So plaintiffs have been prejudiced by Preston's failure to comply with this court's order and respond to Second Amendment complaint, as this failure has caused plaintiff to incur additional costs. And it does. You know, this has been something that's actually been unfair, I think, over and over again, with any delays or anything else that has come up with all these court hearings. Where exactly do they think all of that comes? I mean, again, you have like Preston has been able to essentially do quite a bit of nothing for free. For Jeremy, every time he files, every time he has to note something to the court, that's not just time, it's money. He's going through a lawyer to do that. And courts are supposed to take that into account. They're supposed to, first of all, not have somebody shirk their authority and tell them, nah, I'm going to do whatever I want. That first of all, makes a court look not just inept, but impotent, without power. It amazes me. Because it not only, it shows the court do nothing, but again, it causes injury to the plaintiff. Because at a certain point, you have to be like, hey, wait a minute. Like, how long do, again, it doesn't matter if they're filing pro se. It doesn't matter what kind of excuses they have. The court, that when you're like, if you do this again, next time, kids, next time, you know what? After a while, it means nothing. So we'll see. We'll see if something comes up. But yes, they were supposed to reply. They were supposed to file something within a specific timeline, and they didn't. So yet again, timeline comes down, nothing happened. So what'll happen with it? I guess we'll see. But anyway, let's go through some super chats together today. So Max Lab, starting off, thanks for the 2 here. Such a crazy evening. Randy destroys Fleetwood. Indeed. I mean, the argument that he put forward was a very good one. Again, she did a lot of, you know, Randy, of course, he brings the wrecking ball. But you know what? She did a lot of the damage to herself. If you look through her filing, it is, again, 27 pages of nothing burger. You know, if I'm going to file something on my behalf, I'm going to make a cogent argument telling you that this is the legal authority on which I stand. Again, if you look at this has nothing. It says nothing in this intro portion. Nothing. This is just soapbox. Slide the soapbox out. Say absolutely nothing. This, absolutely nothing. Right? Here, absolutely nothing. No basis in law. This, nothing. More nothing. Right? Now, when you compare that again to Randy's filing here, this is the way this should be. Again, you're going to have an introduction, right? So let's compare this, all right? When you look at Randy's filing, you have their introduction. Now, the introduction for them is, this is who's involved, right? And that's the introduction. Then it talks about, all right, so blah, blah, whoops, there's the wrong one. Even with that one, you notice how that comes together, but it's the wrong part of getting the wrecking ball. Let me get the right one up here. So the other one, and when we look at this, all right, so check this out. Now, this is Randy's response to 2L. Again, this is talking about, again, what did she have to say exactly? Well, she said that there's no grounds for defamation. Well, it points out, first of all, there is no defamation in that. So this isn't soapbox stand. This is pointing out that she's wrong 100%. It notes that all of her arguments, factually, they're wrong. All that comes together. And again, you notice, you have quotations, case-specific items. They make sure to point this out. I think that matters. Like I said, I think you see the difference there. I think the wrecking ball becomes very clear. The wrecking ball, he swings it, but on top of it. Emma, what's up, Emma? Thanks for the 2. It's my birthday today. You get to play the song now. All right. I'm going to play the one Megan made. I like this song, you know? I'm going to play it. Check this out. I do like this song. It's so funny. Like, look at this stuff here.
Happy birthday.
Look at this, though. It's so funny. The puppet. Let's do it. It's like, hey, I'm out of here. I love that.
May all your dreams come true. Happy birthday.
Emma.
We love to have you here. Happy birthday. Here's to another year.
That one cracks me up. I like this one too. I like their old school as well, you know, but I can't work it in as fast. Happy birthday from all of us to you. Yeah, happy birthday. May all Emma's dreams come true. Ooh, Emma. I like that one too. You got the double dipper on that. Love it. Audrey, thanks for the 14 months. Happy I can help make the haters roll around in pain. I know it is like the holy water has just, it's descended and damaged. It's too fun. Let's see. We have a redirect coming in. I'm trying to see which channel was linking in. I appreciate any redirects. It's always fun too. I like both of those though. I hope you enjoy that. But thank you again, Audrey. Tina, thank you for the membership. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Tux Thugs. I love saying that. Thank you, Tina. Thank you for that. And thank you for letting me say that. Damn, I love it. Rosilla, thanks for 10 months there. Thank you. The pavement cracks when the fleas fall down. Have more than Chinatown. Man, you are a poet. Do you know it? Sweet Fly, thanks for the 2 there. Appreciate that. Sweet Fly, hey Tug and Shatters. Hey there. I hope you are having a good one. Yes, much love to all of you too. Appreciate you here. Fallen Hero dropped a gifted membership. Thank you, Fallen Hero. That is much appreciated too. Rosilla. You carried that also. Yeah, they have more 4 chins. Oh no. Oh my goodness. You know, I liked the joke that came from, oh God, what comedian said it, you know, they had more chins than whatever, some type of phone book. It's like, oh my gosh, man. I liked it. They do, though. They're, you know, ultimately, like all insults and stupid, all childish, like finger pointing aside, they have made incredible mistakes in this. They have. Their mistake, first of all, they decided to go after somebody that they themselves stated was litigious and not do it in a way that was easily defensible. You know, like that's the difference between, again, like say Lips and the claims that she asserts and these idiots and the way that they try to fight something. With the claims that that Lips asserts, you just factually tear that stuff apart. If we went in, built a time, first of all, when you say, you know, this person hasn't even alleged something specific about most people, well, that's true. But on top of it, them baiting folks, telling them, hey, why don't you roast me? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Them lying about their timeline and more. Their again, vexatious past that has been very well documented. Like, you can tear that apart factually. These people, though, their arguments to Jeremy Hale's and his claims have always been whataboutism. They've always been finger pointing and stupid. They don't attack it factually. Now, you can make fun of somebody 100%. Even the antis have been trying to tell Lips this. When somebody calls you an idiot, that is protected speech. You are an idiot. You cannot sit around and make claims and pretend that somehow in some way. But that's not right. When you say that you're going to dox a person, and they're like, man, you could be putting people in danger here. You know, you open that door. That's beyond stupid. And you do it. You didn't do it in a court document. You tried it publicly. You did it on in YouTube commentary, and that is the dumbest fucking thing I can think of trying. Because again, it doesn't matter if the information was or wasn't correct. The attempt there, it wasn't done within the thresholds of a legal argument. It wasn't her going forward and saying, I think I found this person. They're part of litigation. No. I said, here publicly, this person, this is who they are, and had to do it. Again, their attempt in that. That's beyond moronic. That absolutely, it takes a flamethrower to a lot of their claims. Again, maybe they earned all of those 1-star reviews. Maybe you understand why they had to sue people to try to keep them quiet. Craziness. Not win, by the way. Not a win. Wise Grammy, thanks for the 7 months there. Awesome. Awesome indeed. Thank you, Wise Grammy. Appreciate you. Nadine, thanks for the 5 there. Jeremy and George told us long ago to watch. They would all turn on each other. Yes. I mean, what bonds them together? First of all, even the best construed movements, you know, like if you look at hashtag movements or anything like that, even those, they always fall apart, right? People turn on each other. That's in the best case scenario. The antis, what bonded them? The disdain for Jeremy in some way, shape, or form, and what else? Money? The hope for acclaim? I mean, what really is there that keeps them from turning on one another? You know, hating someone is not that's not some cohesive element that keeps people from turning a flamethrower on you. In fact, if all they do is destroy something, then sooner or later they will try to destroy you too. They always do. It's amazing. Skipper, what's up, man? Thanks for the 2 months there. The house of cards are falling. Indeed. They have been, again, the only thing that keeps people in line. Sometimes I wonder if the doxing too, if that's an implied threat. If you get out of line, then. I mean, it's not toward people on this side of things. I wonder if it's toward people that, again, are part of their giant mess. I mean, that could be. You know, you'll get some of this too. If and look at how people have been treated too that have spoken up. Anybody that felt sickened by this, you know, again, slug. Look at what happened then. Look at what happened with Shara. You know, folks that were like, "Yo, this I don't even want to be part of this. I'm going to step away." Look at what happened to them. So that would make sense. But yeah, things fall apart and fast. It feels like. D. Thank you for 3 months. 3 months and a long time lurker. Well, I appreciate you, D, there. It's very, very appreciated. And yeah, you know, there are a lot of folks out there that again, you make the channel work. So you're much appreciated. Thank you. Niece, thanks for the 33 months. Thank you for that too. Man, rolling up. You know, it's amazing. Whether you're just starting out, month, you've been here for long, 33 months, long hauling it. All of you are appreciated, dude, because you make the channel possible. So thank you. 33 months, though. Man, Bernice, that's awesome. Hey, Tug, hope all is well with you and the fam. Yes, it is. You know, we've been doing quite well. Like I said, we had a very interesting, very busy day. I also, I forgot I added in the farmer's market this morning, too. I was trying to get some healthier alternatives. I'll get some squash, a little bit of zucchini, you know, fry that up, a little bit of onion, you know, put that in, give it a little bit of flavor at first. Then you can fry up some squash and zucchini on top of it. Good time. It's fun time. Yeah, went out for that. And then the day went from there. Jaguar, thanks you. 5 gifted membership. That is much appreciated, by the way. I love gifted memberships. Like I said, I can't say that enough. They are the greatest thing because they make people feel like they are part of something, and they are. They are the channel. All of you are. So I appreciate that. Tracy, thank you also. 5 gifted memberships. Boom, 10 giftos right from go. Thank you for that. That is much appreciated. I love it. I love gifted memberships. Thank you, folks. Skipper, what's up? Thank you also for the super sticker there, too. I will have to go in and check it out. You know, by now, you would think I'd seen every super sticker. No, there are still quite a few of them. So thank you. Colleen, thanks for the 10 there. Tug Cruise, summer fun. Well, thank you. Thank you for that for sure. Yeah, I've been trying to keep the kid. They were worn out today. They were worn out, and I was happy that they got to go out and do whatever. You know, it's always fun. When I grew up, you know, again, I didn't realize that we didn't have a lot. That was good, but I never want my kids to live that. So it has been good that they can do and they can have fun. They also, you know. They're good kids. They respect stuff. So it's great they can have a little bit of summer fun. Janice, thanks for the 20 there. To replenish the girls' candy and pet fund. Indeed. The pet fund has been, oh, Lord. Like I said, the oldest. So this was funny, too. So we're sitting at lunch. We've sat down to the place that, yeah, there's a lot of people around, right? And she keeps, the oldest keeps talking about her newest pets that she's got. She's gotten Madagascar hissing roaches. All right. And I'm like, don't bring up roaches while people are eating, baby. Keep your voice down. You know, she's excited about it, like telling, you know, oh man, I got these, I got that. I was like, shh. You know, some people, including the place, might not enjoy the conversation about roaches. You know, those are totally different. I mean, you're talking about a bug that's God, I mean, they're pretty huge. If you ever look them up, they're kind of interesting and odd, but I mean, they're harmless. They don't bother or do anything. You know, they're an easy pet to take care of. But they're not something that I think is a casual dinner conversation either. Wishful She-Devil. I love the name, by the way. Thank you for the membership. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Tugs Thugs. Thank you for the membership. And thank you again for letting me say that, for the opportunity. I love being able to say it. Joan dropped a $20 super sticker. Thank you for that too. Like I said, I love to look at the kids love super stickers. They love to look at them. So I go through and in all of this, I go behind the catalog. Now, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, we had a problem with cataloging and we lost about a week. I think YouTube was changing something, but it started working correctly again. So I've been able to go in and clip super stickers and show them the kids. I think they're funny too. If I ever miss one, sometimes I'll catch them in the live. If I miss them though, I get to check them out that way and I love it. Lady Linda, thanks for the 10. Never ending supply of stupid content. Indeed. Indeed. And here's the thing you've got to understand about cases too. Cases go on. Like these cases, if you look at it and you're like, my God, when does justice happen? Well, that's actually a very good question. When does justice happen? I mean, you already had some court wins, right? You already had them with protective orders, for example. Do you feel like justice happened after that? Do you really feel like Hale's was safer because of the protective order? I mean, honestly, do you feel that way? Because I would say no. Protective order... It's sad what they don't mean. You would think once that paper it's in play that it would mean that you're protected. Yeah, a protection order after all, but so hopefully we see some justice as far as a monetary hammer being dropped. But it is such a slow roll. I watched there was a lawsuit that happened between a guy that created a comic book and the creation of the comic book. He took a year, so what happened? Let me tell you, let me start from the beginning of this. He created a comic book and a comic quote unquote pro didn't like this person and tried to destroy their ability to put together their product. They went in, they contacted businesses. They tried to take away distribution. They did everything they could, right, to demolish and destroy that. Well, when that came up, everybody was motivated. They fundraised, galvanized folks, and $100,000 was raised. Well, that $100,000, it was eaten up within a little over a year. And nothing ever moved in this case. It was always delay. And finally, it ended up being settled with a whole lot of nothing. There was no justice in that. At least compared in this case, Randy has been able to move things forward and has gotten quite a bit done, I think, in federal case number 1. And also, again, you've had people, as far as the protective orders, they put it on paper. They got those established too. They help, or at least they should help in theory with everything else that's going on. Because it does establish that these people, they never stop. But we'll see. God, I hope that this supply of stupid, there is always a monster amount of stupid people out there too to laugh at. I just wish it didn't have to come at the expense of somebody's livelihood. Adair, thank you. 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate that too, Adair. Thank you very much. It's awesome. I love your freaking Muppet, man. It looks so happy. It's like, I love it. Joyce, thank you for the membership. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Thugs. Much appreciated there too. Thank you. And thank you for the gifted membership. Thank you very much with that too. I appreciate it. Love those go out. I love when people, they pick up memberships. Again, I get to do my spiel. You're part of, like I said, I love that. And I love when people express that and give it to other folks too. That's amazing as well. So thank you. Becky, thanks for the 5 there. So much for Felisa being mistaken for a lawyer. I know that is one of that right there. Oh my God. That is one of my favorite quotes ever. Yeah, I've been mistaken for a lawyer. Really, by who? Exactly. So much for that one, right? I do love that. That's one of my favorite quotes ever. Second Chief, thanks for the 5 there. At least Jay's unofficial per se response actually addressed the pleadings, unlike Fleece's official response. Indeed, per se lawyer. By the way, per se lawyer, I very much enjoy. He's funny. If you've not been watching Just Jay and you've not been watching the reaction from Just Jay's channel, it has been amazing. I've had a lot of fun laughing at everything there. Again, we don't need pro se, we need per se. So make sure that you catch that for sure. And thank you for mentioning that. And also for this too, Sitting in Chief. I do appreciate that. That was funny too. Thank you. Andre, thanks for the 2 there. Eco Misfits flop. Their case, a legal cow plop. That's true. The Eco Misfits flop. Their case is a legal cow plop. Man, you are a poet as well. That's amazing, Andre. It's very true, too. It's very true to form. Debbie, thank you for the membership. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Tugs Thugs. Thank you very much, too, Debbie. You're much appreciated. Glad you're here. Best friends for life. Best friends for life. I don't know why. I enjoy your. I enjoy the name. I enjoy the symbol. Everything there. Thank you. Happy anniversary. I appreciate it. And like I said, there's been some craziness in life too. All of that. Again, it wasn't something I was ever really going to discuss on a channel, but. That's the other thing. I think like what really disturbed me when I heard Preston talk about Cook. Preston made horrible allegations about him, predicating it on alcoholism. Well, there's no treatment or anything else. It's just supposedly after spending months in a jail cell, things are better. Well, that doesn't fix a problem. Being a dry drunk does not fix a problem. It means that you may have removed alcohol, but they didn't voluntarily do anything. They don't voluntarily get help. And the voluntarily part, that is a huge thing. Just being removed from alcohol does not, it's an important component for sure. But if you do it involuntarily, what normally happens? People return. They return to it. And the allegations that were made, again, I'm not saying I believe the allegations, but the allegations that were made were pretty bad things. They were some nasty, nasty material. So 2012, thanks for the 2 there. Just call it DTPA. That's what most states call it. I like the honestly, I liked it better there. But I just, DTPA would be, it just sounds better, much better there. It's a long way of stating it for real, but it's just funny to laugh at that, I think. But thank you, 2012. I appreciate you, buddy. Bonnie, thanks for the 5 there. You think they're going to melt down on Rumble? On Rumble tonight? Get over there. Yeah, I watch so you don't have to. I'll be watching your take on it tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know, man. I have no idea. I just ultimately, I don't waste my time. I appreciate folks again that give a view into what's happening, because I do not waste a lot of my time thinking about these people. I know Jeremy Hales has to because of court cases, because of the way things have come together. Me, man, I try to stay away from all of their stupid, my Lord. Let me see. Char? Sorry, it hung up for a minute there. Char, thanks for the 5. Thanks for keeping us laughing. Give those adorable girls hugs. Well, thank you. Yeah, I imagine they'll raid. Like, I expected them to raid today, but they didn't because they were so worn out. They had such busy days today. They were so excited today. Though. It was a lot of fun. Emmy, thanks for the 5 months. Love the channel. Everything you stand for. Happy 20th. Yeah, we are not up to 20 yet. Actually, we were close. So that's a statement rounding up, as it were. You know, the 20th is not actually right. I love that lost thing though. If you watch it at the beginning, I love stuff like that. One of the things that it's a lot of fun is when people get to, you know, they know stuff about you and you can have a lot of fun with it. I was looking through, by the way, let me pull up Cameo. I just want to show you something. Let's do this real quick. Who cares? I like this site, man. This site is amazing. You know, when you look at it for some of this stuff. Like I love the show Breaking Bad. Right. And I was looking through, and my Lord. So check this out here. I'm not going to pull up their video that they show or anything. But if you go on Cameo, this is the place where, again, you know, you find all these people. Now, some of them are very expensive. They're like, eh. And some of them, you know, you're talking 20 to 50 bucks, you know, and some of them have discounts on stuff and everything else. They're just a business, basically. But this guy, one of the twins from Breaking Bad, oh my gosh, man, he does videos in character. You know, if you watch Breaking Bad, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's amazing. I was like, man, I need one of those. I need one of those for the channel. That would be amazing. God, I would love to have one of those. I liked that. I thought that was cool. You know, it's really kind of fascinating. Him, you know, you can see he's 99 bucks. 628 people views. His brother, 500. No, 30 people. Like, no, not so much. Also, man, I would love to get old Gil Bedecker. God, but look at that price, $500. Ugh, maybe that's why it was 7 people. Man, I love you, Gail. But man, that's too high. That's way too high. But look at all these people. You got like Dean Norris. You can click on them, by the way, and it'll show you what they do. You know, and some of it's awesome. But he does like his stuff in character as well. Like, God, I really want one of those. But yeah, you see all the people here, you know, and you have just pages and pages and pages of stars that are involved in it. If you ever want something that's unique that you can send to like somebody for an anniversary or a present, go on there. You can find like your favorite show or something and just have it delivered. Again, it's kind of an awesome thing, you know, because it's unique. Also, thanks for the 10 there. If idiot or stupid is defamation, then I feel sorry for all those companies that sell shirts that say I'm with stupid. Indeed. You know, they know better. Like, that's not an actionable complaint. Many of the things, like again, with Lips's lawsuit, many of the things that she pointed out wouldn't be actionable to begin with. And the idea, like her lawsuit is predicated on this notion that there's a subscriber conspiracy. Somehow, Jeremy Hales, he can make sure that you get more subscribers. I'm like, no, that's not it. Again, you know, I appreciate all of you here, but I'm telling you, at a certain point, chasing, if you just wanted to do that, you chase mainstream headlines. If that's all you wanted, like Jeremy Hales, that is a niche topic compared to, say, a Blake Lively, for example. But it's an important topic, you know. And when people see it, it's newsworthy because a lot of people are watching the insanity and the chaos and the crazy. What I feel like, too, is they're admitting something on accident. They're admitting that they see Jeremy Hales as a whale that they can try to harpoon and get subscribers out of. You know, everything that I see most of these people accuse other people of, they themselves, they do something like that, right? So I always look at their accusations, but all of it's predicated on that and on the fact that Jeremy Hales supposedly runs the What the Hales, quote unquote, fan page. And you know that's not true. because some of the stuff that's been posted there, nobody would allow that to stay up because it's detrimental to business. You know, if you were running a fan site yourself, what you would do is you would install moderation that made sure that it didn't hurt your business. You wouldn't allow someone like Lips to run crazy on that site. And they know better. They absolutely know that those things are false. Their own actions state that they're false. But they continue to do this stuff anyhow. It's madness. It is absolute madness. But anyway, so tonight, if you want to tune in to a show, again, Yellow Flash 2 is actually... I'm going to do a redirect. I will always predicate this with the warning. If you offend easily, do not go over there. But if you want to have fun and you want to laugh at some stupid stuff, which I always enjoy, Saturdays are built for that. Let me bring this up. Flashcast happens tonight. Flashcast is always crazy. It's always a bit of fun. There's always some good people on there. A lot of people I like that go over there, you know. So let me bring this up for you. I'll redirect you over. And again, if you, again, one note, if you offend easily, do not go over there and get offended and write me. Be like, oh my God, somebody said blah, blah, blah. Yeah, people have the ability to say whatever, you know. So, but if you want to go and you want to laugh at some stupid stuff that goes on, you want to watch people like be entertained, have fun together, there you go. And also, like I said, a lot of those people, I've known a few of them for a long time. And above anything, they're decent people too. You know, that's very rare online these days. So let me make sure I didn't miss anything. And I'm going to redirect you. Give me 1 second. I don't want to miss anybody here. I don't think I missed anyone. If I did miss somebody, I will catch you tomorrow. I should be here tomorrow. Wait, there was let me see. There was actually oh, no, that's Cheryl. That was from yesterday. Okay, so I think I'm caught up with everything. All right. Well, I'm going to redirect you. Again, appreciate you folks. And we'll be seeing you. Thanks.